Aloha. If I look a little nervous, I want to give you an explanation. I was so intimidated by the auctioneer, Jerry, that I didn't dare stand up to go to the bathroom. Because I might find myself going to the Grand Wailea. Thank you for your good job. But Irene and I were really fascinated and quite intimidated by watching the robotic exhibits. I was talking to second graders, and this one young student was trying to explain to me robotics. And I must confess, I didn't understand what he was talking about. He's telling me about the sensors here and the battery system. This is a second grader. I said to myself, thank God I got my high school diploma. Because I would have flunked on this one. Yeah. Well, it made me so happy to watch those exhibits because it goes back to 20 years ago when I got a call from a very dear friend of mine, Pandi Yokochi. I don't know how many of you know him, but he was a real leader here. And Pandi said, I hear you're coming to Maui next week. I said, yes. He said, I want to have a little meeting with you and a group of friends of mine. I said, okay. Where? Maui Prince. All right. So we get to Maui Prince, and there are 3-layer lacquered boxes filled with goodies for each person. And this is the MEDB. Jeannie Skog, she was a teenager then, was there. Hannibal Tavares, Charmaine's father, was there. He was mayor. And I said to Pandi, I said, what's all this fancy lacquered box filled with sushi and things like that? That's a lot of money. He said, yes, we're spending a lot of money here, and you better come out with a lot of money yourself. That's what lobbying is all about. And so we had very serious discussions. And in about a month, we came up with a solution. On Alahele, there was an observatory. And most people at that time weren't aware of what we were doing up there, but it was part of the Cold War. We were following Soviet missiles and Soviet satellites. We wanted to keep track of them. But as a senior member of the Defense Appropriations Committee, I was well aware that the power source for this operation was not quite sufficient. And we were in the process of thinking of a supercomputer. And so I said, how about a supercomputer here? Discussed it with the Air Force, and they wanted to set up a small one. I said, no, why don't you get the big one? We can't afford it. I said, oh, yes, you can afford it. We sell half the capacity. That's a good idea. That will pay for your activity. In other words, it's a win-win situation. That was 17 years ago. Today we have the Mana. Before that, we had the JAWS. It is the largest supercomputer in the United States. It is one of the largest in the world. That's what that Maui Prince reception resulted in. And that's what resulted in those kids telling me what robotics is all about. Watching those two young people here carrying on this conversation on the interviews, I don't know how you felt, but it made me feel good to know that the efforts of all of us made a difference, made a big difference. This has become the Silicon Valley of the Pacific. Just a couple of days ago, I was on the Big Island. We were celebrating the decision to establish the 30-meter telescope on that island. And you know, if I don't understand robotics, how can I understand space? But so I'm reading up like a good politician, and it says that this telescope will be able to look into space 14 billion light years away. You figure that out. 14 billion light years away. You will see the birth of galaxies, the birth of stars, and might get close to the birth of this universe. Yes? The only one in the world is going to be on the Big Island. The biggest computer is on this island, on the island of Kauai, Pacific Missile Range, is the most important research range for our military. Yes, we've done it. This is just the beginning. And as Mufi Hanneman always says, the best is yet to come. Yes, sir. Yes, the best is yet to come. I was telling Jeannie a secret. I said, don't you ever talk about it. But I anticipate something will happen before Labor Day. When that happens, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's going to be a big deal. And the word, the best is yet to happen, will be very, very applicable to this. So, yes, we are the Silicon Valley of the Pacific. 50 years ago, 50 years and 11 years ago, 11 hours ago, 50 years, 11 hours, President Dwight David Eisenhower sat in the cabinet room of the White House. To his right was the Vice President, Mr. Nixon. To his left was the Speaker of the House, Sam Rabin of Texas. I stood in the back of Sam Rabin, and the President proceeded to sign the document making Hawaii the 50th state. At that time, in the new state of Hawaii, if you wanted an education, if you wanted your son or daughter to go beyond high school, you had to take them to Honolulu. There's no higher education on any one of the islands. See, Honolulu was not only the hub or the center, it was a state. The other areas we call rural areas. We call them outer islands. Outer islands. If you wanted to borrow money to open up a business, Honolulu. If you got ill and you wanted special treatment, Honolulu. At that moment, I said to myself, this has to change. And I'm so happy that I've lived long enough to see changes being made all over Hawaii. Today we have a University of Manoa, one in Hilo. The one in Maui will become a university shortly. Yes, the best is yet to come. I'm so happy that I don't know if you'll approve it, but I'm going to stick around here for a while. I'm going to end up with the second grader. I was on the stage, like these kids were on the stage right now, when I was in the second grade, slightly different. They gave me a burlap bag that cut the corners so my arms can stick through that, and cut the top, my head went through that. I went on the stage and I had a talking part. And I still remember my lines. I am a potato. I'm good for the health. We've gone a long way. But before I go, some of you have been very kind to me and said, Dan, you look terrific. You're smiling, you're laughing, you got a tan. You don't have this severe black suit on. You know what the secret is? Irene. Come on. You see, I was married to a Maui girl for 57 years. Maui's very special to me. Maggie. My mother was born in Pukuli. I've been married for 14 months. I married a young chick. That's the secret, fellas. So thank you for a wonderful life. Thank you for a wonderful evening. And I know that Irene joins me. We love you all. Aloha.